The warriors' loss, the red twin suns of Keth Prime, cast long shadows across the battlefield as Commander Vera of the Callan Empire surveyed the devastation. Her forearms trembled as she held the broken weapon of her fallen mate, Captain Dex. The human forces had retreated, but their victory came at a terrible cost. Vera's scaled skin shifted from its usual blue-green to deep purple, a sign of grief among her people. She had fought alongside Dex for 12 cycles, their bond forged in countless battles across the galaxy. Now he lay cold beneath the crimson sand, another victim of humanity's relentless expansion. The Callan had ruled this sector for centuries. Their advanced technology and superior numbers had made them the dominant force until the humans arrived. These strange bipedal creatures fought with a fury that defied logic, using primitive weapons enhanced with their own bizarre innovations. "Commander," her aide Kor approached carefully, "the Council demands your report." Vera's secondary eyes fixed on the human corpses scattered among her own warriors. Even in death, they looked defiant. One human soldier, barely more than a youth, still clutched a makeshift explosive device. They fought like cornered beasts, but with the intelligence of tacticians. "Tell the Council we underestimated them again," Vera said, her voice carrying the weight of loss. "They don't fight like any species we've encountered. They don't retreat when logic demands it. They don't surrender when defeat is certain." She walked among the fallen, studying the human dead. Their technology was inferior, their ships smaller, their numbers fewer. Yet they had broken the Callan's finest regiment. How? The answer came to her as she examined the human's weapon. It was crude compared to Callan plasma rifles, but it had been modified with scavenged parts from their own destroyed vehicles. The humans adapted, evolved, learned from each defeat. "They're not just fighting us," she realized aloud. "They're studying us." Kor's head tendrils swayed nervously. "Commander, the humans left something behind." He led her to a crater where a human dropship had crashed. Inside, she found data cores and equipment, but also something unexpected: medical supplies and emergency rations marked with Callan symbols. The humans had been carrying supplies for Callan prisoners. "They were planning to take captives," Vera murmured. "Not just kill us." This revelation shook her. The Callan had always fought wars of extermination against other species. It was their way. But humans fought to capture, to understand, perhaps even to convert their enemies. As the moons rose over Keth Prime, Vera held Dex's weapon close to her chest. The Callan had lost more than a battle today. They had lost their certainty about their place in the galaxy. These humans were different, dangerous in ways that had nothing to do with their weapons. She made a decision that would have seemed impossible hours before. She would request a transfer to the intelligence division. She needed to understand these creatures, who fought with such strange honor, who carried medical supplies for their enemies, even as they killed them. "Kor, prepare my personal fighter. I'm returning to the capital." "Commander, the Council expects you to oversee the burial rites for—" "The dead will be honored," Vera interrupted, "but I must learn how to protect the living. The humans are coming, and when they do, we need to be ready." As her ship lifted off from Keth Prime, Vera took one last look at the battlefield. Somewhere out there, human commanders were planning their next move, learning from this engagement just as she was. The thought should have filled her with dread. Instead, she felt something she hadn't experienced since her youth curiosity. The humans had taken Dex from her, but they had also shown her something about warfare she had never considered. They fought not just to win, but to survive. And perhaps, in their strange way, to save their enemies from themselves. The stars stretched endlessly before her ship, and somewhere among them, human fleets were preparing for the next battle. Vera would be ready for them. She would study them, understand them, and maybe, just maybe, find a way to end this war that didn't require the destruction of either species. But first, she had to convince the Council that their enemy was not the monster they believed, but something far more dangerous, a species that might actually be worth sparing. The journey to the capital would take 3 days. Vera spent the time reviewing battle reports, studying human tactics, and slowly beginning to see patterns that both terrified and fascinated her. These humans were not conquerors in the traditional sense. They were survivors, and they were learning to help others survive. Behind enemy lines. 3 months after Keth Prime, Vera found herself in the most unlikely place, a human refugee camp on the border world of Haven. Her scales had been surgically altered to appear more humanoid, and neural implants helped her mimic human speech patterns. The Intelligence Division had approved her deep cover mission with reluctance. The humans call it Camp Hope, her handler had briefed her. Ridiculous name for a place full of war refugees. But as Vera walked through the camp, she saw something that challenged everything she knew about human nature. The refugees weren't just human. There were Cullen prisoners here too, living alongside their former enemies. Children of both species. Played together in the dusty streets. She had been assigned to work in the medical tent, her 4 arms disguised with prosthetic coverings. The camp doctor, a human named Tom, had welcomed her without suspicion. He was older than most human soldiers, with gray hair and tired eyes that had seen too much war. "You're the new medic from the outer colonies?" Tom asked, handing her a datapad. "Good. We need all the help we can get." The first patient was a young Callan girl, barely 10 cycles old. She had been injured in a colony bombardment of human positions that had accidentally hit the refugee convoy. The irony wasn't lost on Vera. "Her name is Kira," Tom explained, his hand surprisingly gentle as he examined the child. "She doesn't speak much standard, but she understands enough." Vera's training kicked in as she helped treat the girl's wounds. But something unexpected happened. Kira looked up at her with trusting eyes and spoke in perfect Cullen. "Are you here to take me home?" The question hit Vera like a plasma bolt. This child saw her as a protector, not an enemy. Tom noticed her hesitation. "You understand her language," he observed. "That's rare among outer colony medics." "I studied it," Vera managed. "For situations like this." Tom nodded approvingly. "Good thinking. Most humans don't bother learning alien languages. They think everyone should speak standard." As days passed, Vera found herself drawn into the strange ecosystem of Camp Hope. She watched human soldiers share rations with Cullen refugees. She saw human children teaching Cullen youngsters to play simple games. Most shocking of all, she witnessed humans and Cullen working together to build shelters and tend to the wounded. How is this possible? She asked Tom one evening as they treated a human soldier injured by Cullen weapons. Tom paused in his work. "What do you mean?" "The cooperation, the trust. Your people and mine have been at war for years." "Your people?" Tom's eyes sharpened slightly, and Vera realized her mistake. "I mean, the Cullen. How do you trust them after everything?" Tom was quiet for a long moment. "Because they're not my enemy," he said finally. "The war is my enemy. The politicians who send children to fight are my enemy. But a scared kid who just wants to go home? That's just another patient." That night, Vera sent her first report back to Cullen Intelligence. But instead of military intelligence, she found herself writing about the medical techniques humans used, the way they organized their refugee camps, their methods of treating trauma in children. Her handler's response was swift and angry. "We need tactical information, not humanitarian reports." But Vera couldn't shake what she was seeing. The humans weren't conquering worlds. They were trying to save them. Even from their own people. The revelation came when she discovered Tom's personal files. He had been a military doctor during the early years of the war. His own son had been killed in a Callan raid. Yet here he was, dedicating his life to saving Callan children. "You lost someone," she said to him the next day, unable to contain her curiosity. Tom's hands stilled over his patient charts. "We all lost someone. That's what war does. But you're still here, still helping them. Because someone has to break the cycle," Tom said simply. "Someone has to decide that saving life is more important than taking it." That night, Vera made a decision that would have seemed impossible months ago. She requested permission to extend her mission indefinitely, not to gather intelligence, but to understand these impossible humans who turned enemies into patients, who saw wounded children instead of alien threats. But as she sent the message, she noticed something troubling in the camp's communication logs. Callan forces were planning an attack on Haven. They saw the refugee camp as a strategic target, a symbol of human weakness to be destroyed. The humans who had shown her such unexpected kindness were about to be betrayed by her own people. And, for the first time since Dex's death, Vera felt her loyalty to the Callan Empire begin to crack. She had 3 days to decide which side she was really on. Asterisk the choice. The attack warning came through encrypted channels at dawn. Vera stared at the message on her hidden communicator, her blood running cold. The Callan Third Fleet would arrive in 18 hours. Their target, complete destruction of Camp Hope, and all collaborators within. She found Tom in the children's ward, reading stories to a mixed group of human and Callan youngsters. His voice was gentle as he acted out different characters, making the children laugh despite the grim reality outside the tent walls. Watching him, Vera felt something she hadn't experienced since losing Dex, a warmth that had nothing to do with attraction and everything to do with admiration. "Tom," she called softly, "we need to talk." He looked up, immediately sensing the urgency in her voice. "Kids, keep reading together. I'll be right back." They walked to the edge of the camp, where the morning mist still clung to the hills. Tom waited patiently as Vera struggled with words that could condemn her as a traitor to her own people. "There's going to be an attack," she said finally. "Tomorrow morning. You need to evacuate everyone." Tom's expression didn't change, but she saw the calculation in his eyes. "How do you know this?" The moment of truth had arrived. Vera reached up and pulled away the prosthetic covering on her left arm, revealing the distinctive blue-green scales beneath. Tom stepped back, but not in fear in recognition. "You're Callan," he said quietly. "Commander Vera of the 3rd Intelligence Division," she admitted. "I was sent here to gather information about your operations." To her surprise, Tom smiled sadly. "I know. You know? I suspected from the first day. Your medical knowledge was too advanced, your understanding of Callan. Physiology too perfect. Plus, you have that slight accent when you're tired." He studied her face carefully. "The question is, why are you warning us?" Vera looked back at the camp where humans and Callan were beginning their daily routines, unaware that death was approaching. "From the stars. Because this isn't war anymore. It's murder." "What changed your mind?" She thought of Dex, of her grief, of the certainty she had once felt about the righteousness of their cause. "You did? All of you? You showed me something I didn't think was possible, which is that enemies can become family." Tom nodded slowly. "So what do? We can't evacuate 8,000 people in 18 hours without transportation." "The human garrison has ships," Vera said. "But they won't believe the warning coming from you. They'll think it's a trap. But they might believe it coming from a Callan commander who's risking everything to save human lives." Vera felt the weight of the decision settling on her shoulders. If she revealed herself to the human military, there would be no going back. She would be a traitor to her own people, an exile with nowhere to return. But if she stayed silent, everyone in this camp would die. "There's something else," she said. "The attack isn't just about destroying the camp. It's about you specifically, Tom." His eyebrows raised in surprise. "My people have been monitoring human communications. They know about your work here, about how you've created cooperation between our species. They see you as a threat to the war effort. Because peace is bad for business? Because peace means admitting we might have been wrong." Tom was quiet for a long moment, looking out over the camp. When he spoke, his voice was steady. "I won't abandon these people. If I have to die to give them time to escape, so be it. You don't have to die," Vera said urgently. "Come with me to the garrison. Help me convince them. Together we might be able to save everyone. Why does this matter so much to you?" Vera looked at this human who had shown her kindness, who had trusted her even when he suspected her true nature, who was willing to die for people who weren't even his own species. The answer came to her with startling clarity. "Because I think I'm falling in love with what you represent." Tom's eyes widened. "What I represent?" "Hope. The idea that we can be better than what this war has made us." She took a deep breath. "And because I think I'm falling in love with you." The admission hung in the air between them. Tom reached out slowly and took her real hand, the one with scales in his human one. "Then let's go save some lives," he said simply. As they walked toward the garrison command center, Vera activated her communicator one last time. She sent a message to her Callan handlers. "Mission compromised. Identity blown. Going dark." Then she crushed the device under her boot and took the hand of the human who had taught her that love could be stronger than loyalty to a cause that had lost its way. The real battle was about to begin. The battle for hope. The human garrison commander, Colonel Banks, stared at Vera with a mixture of disbelief and suspicion. Her revealed Cullen features made the small command room feel suddenly cramped and dangerous. "You're telling me that a Callan spy wants to help us defend against her own people?" Banks said, his hand resting on his sidearm. "She's telling the truth," Tom insisted. "Commander Vera has been working in our medical facility for months. She's saved more lives than most of your soldiers." "After infiltrating us under false pretenses," Banks shot back, "how do we know this isn't an elaborate trap?" Vera stepped forward, her forearms spread in a gesture of openness. "Because I'm giving you tactical information that could save your entire colony. The Third Fleet has 12 heavy cruisers and 40 fighter squadrons. They'll approach from the shadow of Haven's second moon to avoid your early warning systems." Banks' expression shifted slightly. That level of detail wasn't something easily fabricated. "Their primary target is the camp," Vera continued, "but they'll also hit your spaceport and communication arrays. Standard Cullen doctrine for dealing with what they consider contaminated zones." "Contaminated?" "Places where humans and Cullen cooperate," Tom explained grimly. "It threatens their narrative that we're monsters." The colonel activated his command display, showing Haven's orbital space. "Even if this is true, we have 6 patrol ships and maybe 200 ground troops. How do we fight a fleet?" "You don't fight them," Vera said. "You survive them." She moved to the displayer. Knowledge of Callan tactics coming into play. The attack will come in 3 waves. First, long-range bombardment to destroy fixed defenses. Second, fighter sweeps to establish air superiority. Third, ground assault to eliminate survivors. So we're dead anyway. Not if you evacuate during the bombardment. Cullen sensors have trouble distinguishing between structural collapse and deliberate destruction. If you stage a false retreat and hide the refugees in the Southern Canyon system, they might assume everyone died in the initial attack. Banks studied the tactical display. "That's a hell of a gamble. It's the only chance you have, Vera said. Unless ... Unless what? Unless you let me contact the fleet directly. The room fell silent. Tom reached for her arm. Vera, that's suicide. They'll execute you as a traitor. Maybe. Or maybe I can convince them that destroying this place serves no strategic purpose. That it's just revenge disguised as military necessity. Banks shook his head. They'll never believe you. You've been compromised. They might believe me if I deliver something they want more than revenge. What could be worth more than that? Vera met Tom's eyes, seeing understanding dawn in them. A high-value human prisoner. Someone whose capture would be seen as a major intelligence coup. Absolutely not, Tom said immediately. It's the only way to get close enough to their command ship to... To what? Talk him out of genocide? Vera, you're not thinking clearly. But Colonel Banks was studying her with new interest. What exactly are you proposing? I turn myself in? Claiming I've captured Dr. Tom Reeves, the architect of human-Callan cooperation. While they're interrogating him, I sabotage their communications array and broadcast the truth about what's really happening here. The truth? That this isn't a military target. It's a refugee camp full of children. That humans aren't the monsters our propaganda claims. That there's another way to end this war. Banks was quiet for a long moment. And if they don't listen, then at least the evacuation happens while they're distracted. You save 8,000 lives instead of losing them all. Tom grabbed her shoulders. I won't let you sacrifice yourself for us. And I won't let you all die for my people's inability to see past their own fear. Vera's voice was steady, but her eyes showed the pain of her decision. This is bigger than us, Tom. Bigger than what we feel for each other. No, it's not, he said fiercely. It's exactly about what we feel. About proving that love can exist between species, that understanding is possible. If you die trying to save us, their propaganda wins. Vera touched his face gently. If I don't try, then Dex died for nothing, and all those children in the camp will die for nothing too. Outside, they could hear the sounds of hasty evacuation. Beginning. Banks had made his decision. You have 6 hours before the fleet arrives, he told Vera. If you're doing this, it has to be now. Tom pulled Vera close, holding her as tightly as their different physiologies allowed. Promise me something. What? Promise me you'll come back. That we'll have a chance to see what this thing between us could become. Vera kissed him then, a gesture that would have been impossible to imagine months ago. I promise I'll try. As she prepared to walk into the greatest gamble of her life, Vera realized that somewhere between mourning Dex and falling for Tom, she had found something worth fighting for that had nothing to do with empires or territory. She had found hope, asterisk,